A lot of people like to talk about how violence in video games is affecting our mental health, but I'm not here to say that that can't be a possibility, but I want to actually talk about something that I believe is affecting our mental health. And that's two key things. That is the social anxiety that has come along with the gaming community in recent years, and something that the developers themselves have added on to a lot of games these past few generations. So I want to start with the easiest one to talk about. A lot of people today have issues with open world games, and I have an issue with open world games too. A lot of people say they have open world game fatigue, and I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but I think I know what the real issue is. It's not so much that the open world part is the problem. I believe that the problem is that the developers are cluttering the game with so much stuff to do. Most of the stuff is not entertaining to do. It's just mundane fetch quests. It's nothing. It's not bad content. It's just, average content. The biggest issue though is they show you everything that you could possibly do. And that's where the mental health issue comes in. That's where the anxiety comes in. That's when that need to collect everything comes in. Now, some people could say that some of that may be just a person's own self-control. And I would agree to an extent. I do I know for a fact that you got to understand these developers have research departments. They actually, everything has some type of scientific base. These people have studied the human mind, and they understand what causes people's, those sensors to go off in your brain to kick in dopamine. If you don't know what dopamine is, a chemical that, basically gives you positive feedback. They know all those things. That's the same reason why they know how to design a battle pass. They know how to design microtransactions. They know how to design a lot of these. The reason why you feel so eager to invest in these things is because they have done a lot of research, spent millions of dollars to know exactly what makes us tick as people. We're basically living science experiments to them. So they know by making a game that's going to be cluttered with a bunch of content, one is going to tell you, hey, I'm getting a lot of bang for my buck. Now, let's be real here. How many of us do half of the content in most of these games? Most of us don't. And we still will spend $70, $60, however much we spend on a brand new game, and still feel like we got a full experience just doing the main story, main content. And half the time, they ain't nothing but 10, 15 hours. But we live off of the fact that we could possibly have hundreds of hours of content. We don't do half of that stuff. And then the problem is not so much the offering of extra content, it's how they offer it. So like I said, with the big open world games, them cluttering the map distracts you from the main experience. This is where the fatigue kicks in. Most of us don't know that we are being played upon. So most of us don't know that developers trying to distract me from doing, which is weird when you put it this way, but it is the truth. They're distracting you from the main content by bombarding you with a bunch of crap, with a bunch of side content that's all over your face. So now you're being distracted every which way, left and right. By the time you do 10% of the side content, you barely touch the main content. Now you're tired of playing the game and you don't want to play it anymore. And you felt like you lost out on your money, or you felt like you just have a headache. I've played games before and gotten a headache because they just showed me too much content. Not even I did it. Like when I play certain games where I just played through Horizon Forbidden West, and because I have learned to control myself, it didn't happen with Horizon Forbidden West. But there have been games where I played where I've just, you go in certain games, open world games, you got to like show the rest of the map by doing a certain activity. Like in Horizon, you got to get on top of the tall necks, and then more of the map is shown. There have been games where I've seen more of the map, and then all these like hundreds of icons just start blowing up the screen. You can't even see the terrain of the map anymore because there's so many dots everywhere. And just seeing that has caused me to have a headache, because it's almost like I know I'm not going to do all that stuff, but I know as I'm doing what I want to do, guess what's going to pop up on my screen? This icon, that icon. Hey, go over here. Hey, go over here. Go. Hey, do this. Hey, and then the main character talks. Hey, maybe I should go over here and see what this person wants. It's like I'm just trying to do this one thing, and you're trying to push me to do a bunch of crap. Yes, that triggers people's anxiety. I know we live in a time and era today where everybody's trying to be super tough and macho, where they say, well, you guys just need to toughen up. No, these people are doing these things to us. These people are creating environments where they're playing on our mental health. And I think a lot of people would, this is a hobby, this is a passion for a lot of us, video games. It would make gaming a lot better if they stopped doing many things. Microtransaction fees into the gambling side of people. All these dots feed into that collector, that I want to get everything, hoarding, greed. It feeds into the worst sides of human nature, and they know that. And although it is good to have those challenges in life and have to fight against them, don't forget that they are making the product you're paying for to agitate you. And we're going to speak into more agitation in a second, but I want to give a solution. So what's the solution? Because you might be saying, well, okay, they make these big open world games with a bunch of stuff to do. Well, what else are they supposed to do? How else are they supposed to deliver it? Well, going to probably the granddad of video games, go to Nintendo. Nintendo made Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, some of the biggest open world games out there. And what they did was they didn't bombard you with a bunch of stuff to do. There is like hundreds of side quests in those games, but guess what? Even though there's hundreds of side quests in those games, they don't, when you reveal more of them out, they don't tell you every side quest and possible thing to do. I'll even go to another one, Rockstar, with Red Dead Redemption 2. Red Dead Redemption 2 is a big game with a big story. Now, Rockstar is a little bit different because their philosophy is more about focusing on their main content. They never really were big on just blowing you up with a bunch of side content, even though those games do have a decent amount of side missions. But at least when it comes to looking at your map and knowing what you need to do next, they kind of keep you focused on the main content. So you don't feel like you're being distracted every left, right, and which way, up, down. You don't feel that. You don't feel like, oh man, I have so much stuff I need to do. Do I even have time to do it? Because you gotta remember, there's a lot of people who have jobs, obviously. A lot of people have other things that to worry about, kids, whatever. And while they're trying to enjoy playing the game, they're already being distracted by other things in their personal life. Then the game itself is distracting them from doing the main content. Like, that doesn't help anybody. It only helps developers, so developers could say, we have hundreds of hours of content. Hundreds of hours of content that most people will not even do it all. And even the people who do it all, I have rarely ever heard anyone outside of people who just love trophy hunting and achievement hunting say, I enjoy doing the 30,000th fetch quest in this game. I've never heard anyone say this particular fetch quest where I had to go get the nuts and hand the nuts to the baker, whatever the heck you have to do. This one was different than the one where I had to hand the bananas over to the guy down the road. Like, it's the same thing repeated over and over. So half the stuff is boring fetch quests that you're being distracted by every second. This benefits nobody. And the last major thing that I want to talk about, this is gonna be a little controversial, but just hear me out, is difficulty. This is more of a social, mental health attack, if you will. Again, going back to what I said earlier, these developers do know how we work. They do a lot of research and development. They know what makes us tick, and they study their audience. As much as I love the Souls series, the Souls franchise, and the Souls genre, I'm here to just put this out here. Front Software, in my opinion, not saying they're the only ones, but they are the originators of this genre. They have lost their mark. They have lost what they were all about. Their games were difficult. Well, when you really look back on a lot of them, they weren't all that difficult. But recently with Elden Ring, in my opinion, they have purposely made the game difficult. And I think it's because now the marketing, now the goal is, we know how people are. They're going to buy our games, whether they like them or not, to prove that they can beat this game, because there's a social understanding that in the gaming world, in the gaming sphere, if you can beat our game, then you're a real gamer. Do not for 1 second think they don't understand that that's how people's brains operate. Now, again, going back to people learning how to check their own egos at the door. Yes, a lot of that is on you to realize, hey, do I even like what I'm playing, or am I just playing this to prove a point? Because a lot of people play those games to prove a point. If you don't believe me, it's a reason. This is a mental health issue. It's a reason why if you play any Souls game and play a particular way that some people don't like, they'll fuss at you about it. And let me tell you why they do that. It's no different than when someone grows up in an unfortunate situation, tough environment, but you didn't. And you both got to the same destination. The person that grew up in a tougher environment will belittle you because they feel like they did it the harder way and you did it the easy way. That's why if you play Elden Ring and use mimic tears or whatever, they'll say you didn't play the game right. You didn't do the correct thing to do. And it's like, how did I do the correct thing to do? How did I play the game correctly when the developer is bombarding me with mimic tears? Not mimic tears, but summons at least. It's bombarded. It's almost like they want me to use the doggone summon. They keep giving me summons. Every build can use a summon. Why am I doing it the wrong way? This social interaction, they know it exists. FromSoft knows this exists. They know that this is what's going on. They're not stupid. People who study Souls games, especially from FromSoft, they know that over the years, FromSoft's game design has been understood, how it functions. They make their games, their boss fights, their whatever. They give enemies a certain pattern of moves that most people enjoy learning the patterns. And then by learning the patterns and the tells, you can easily beat these bosses, no matter how you want to play. What they did with Elden Ring and his recent DLC, what's it called? I forgot what it's called. The Elden Tree. Well, I don't know. I didn't pay no attention. But I've seen some people complain about it, even people who really love Elden Ring. And they were saying like, hey, you guys are going against your own philosophy of development to make something more ridiculously harder than it needs to be. What purpose is it? Well, it's so that people can, again, go back to society, go back to the gaming community and say, I beat this thing. And you're just a whiny little brat, or you just suck at the game, get good. All that stuff is playing on people's, it's pitting people against each other. It's making people argue about stuff that don't really matter. And it's causing people to have anxiety issues. It's causing people to put themselves through the ringer to prove a point. Again, you don't have to do any of this stuff. Again, you don't have to succumb to this social pressure to play these games if you don't enjoy them. Like for me personally, it's not even really the difficulty why I don't play FromSoft's Souls games anymore, because I still play games in the Souls genre. I just recently got Remnant from the Ashes 2. I love that game. I love playing Koei Tecmo's Souls games. So that would be like the Neo franchise, Strangers of Paradise. I like those games better because mechanically speaking, they're just better games. Souls games, if you strip away the difficulty, and you play FromSoft Souls games, you strip away the difficulty and you're just left with its mechanics, they're not the best of the mechanics. It's very slow attacks, no combos really. It's not the most exciting gameplay. So I used to play those games for the challenge. When I got better at them, like it's not even that challenging. Now it's just kind of stupid. You know, that's for me though. Me personally, like they're not even challenging anymore as much as they're just like I'm playing the game like this is just them being cheap. This is just them being unfair. This is just them doing something like for the purpose of being annoying. They make this fight work this way. And a lot of people have pointed that out with especially Elden Ring in particular. So that's why I don't really mess with their games anymore until they go back to doing what they used to do, which is making actually something fun and challenging versus hard and difficult for the sake of the bragging rights. Because that's really what it's boiled down to now. I'm off their content. That's just me. But it doesn't change the fact that this does affect our mental health. And I don't think it's good that it affects our mental. It's getting so bad, like it's getting so bad that people were just talking about how From Software's game design, and I disagree with this, by the way. Their game design, because there's not a traditional pause button. There is a way to pause certain FromSoft games. It's a weird way you got to do it, but you can pause them. But they said because you can't pause, people who are parents are now have a situational disability. Let me tell you something right now. As someone with an actual disability, I don't get easily triggered by stupid stuff. So I'm not gonna say that it's in poor taste to call it a disability and it affects me. It is in poor taste, but it doesn't affect me. It's just something stupid that people are doing. But I'm just saying this, as someone with an actual disability, you being a parent and can't pause a video game is not a disability. They even had something where they said on that chart, like being a bartender is a disability for playing video games, or being a driver, like you're driving a vehicle. You shouldn't be video gaming and driving a vehicle anyway. I don't even understand what that stuff is supposed to mean. But maybe I just didn't understand the full reasoning behind those other examples. But the one about the parenting was, well, because you're a parent and your child may be running around your house and you can't pause the game, you are in that situation disabled, because it's either between dealing with your child or possibly losing because you can't pause the game and you can get attacked or whatever. And it's like, that's still not a disability, number one. Number two, that's life, bro. Like, that's not, like, what if you're playing the game and a knock at the door, you got to go answer the door? Like, that could be for anything. But the whole reason I'm even bringing this up is to say the fact that this is even a conversation is telling you what's happening to people in their minds. Why are people so stressed out that they are not, like, I'm not against the pause button. I don't care. Add a pause button to the Souls games. I don't really care. There's, like I said, there's other developers who make Souls likes that have pause buttons and they don't affect the gameplay at all anyway. So I don't particularly care if a pause button is added or not. But what I'm saying is the fact that this is even a discussion is telling you that it's doing something to people's brains. It's making people have anxiety attacks. It's making people go crazy. I'm not over exaggerating. I'm not saying people are in madhouses or people are in straitjackets. I'm just saying the fact that people even having this type of discussion about freaking FromSoft games is telling you this is what this difficulty is doing to people. This is what the challenge of getting good is doing to people, that is so much so that they have to make charts about all the different ways that if they don't design a game a particular way, it's going to cause people to lose their freaking minds. What is going on? What is going on? And yes, some of this stuff has nothing to do with video games. A lot of this stuff has to do with just how people are being raised today, what's going on in society. But like I said, do not be tricked. These people who make video games, they get millions in research and development. If you don't know, I'm telling you, they learn how people's brains work so they can play on your mind. I already gave you examples, so I'm not going to go through that again. But with the difficulty of FromSoft games, they have seen and they have researched and said, we have a whole audience of people who are playing this game just to prove a point. If you do not think that they will not keep increasing that difficulty and making the games, see, it comes to a point, as someone who has worked on games before, made my own games, there does come a point where you say, there is no way I can make this game fair and fun and easy for the player to understand. Because there's a difference between challenging and unfair and hard. There's something between, there's things could be hard and challenging, but it's fair. And there's things that's hard and it's not fair. It's bull crap. FromSoft has reached bull crap territory. But see, people are so wrapped up. This is where the mental health comes in. People are so wrapped up in proving that they're a better gamer, they can't even see that they're being played upon. And I think that that's a problem. So not to ramble on for too long, I think I delivered my piece, my point, whatever you want to call it, my opinion, long enough. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Do you feel overwhelmed by all the icons and all the different bull crap they put in these games nowadays to distract you from what you want to do in the game? Is it causing you, because I got to say, it causes me headaches. I have to almost not look at my map for too long in some games because it's just too much stuff in my face. It's too much stuff in my face at one time. And when it comes to game difficulty, that doesn't affect me nearly as much. If a game is like being unfair and hard, I just stop playing it. It's just not enjoyable anymore. But let me know, do you feel social pressure? Like if you decide to play a Souls game, or do you feel like, I got to play it a particular way? Like all that stuff, again, does boil down to your own self-control and you not caring about what other people think, which I don't care much about what other people think myself. But I know there's a lot of people that their brains don't work like mine. There are a lot of people that struggle with not being able to fight against the urge to go with whatever the crowd is saying. And I don't think that we should just throw our hands in the air and say, well, let's just let them people like deal with, that's their problem. Like, I don't think that's how people who have self-control should treat people who don't. I think we should be able to have this discussion and say, hey, not only do you need to figure out how to like not give in to social pressure, but at the same time, we got to also accept that the developers and the people know that these social pressures exist and they're using it against people to cause people to buy things that they don't really want. It's, people I know that bought these Souls games to prove a point and then they feel like they wasted their money because not only can they not beat the game, but some of them did beat it and said, I didn't even like what I just played. I beat this game to say I beat something and I didn't even like it. And then they'll do it again. And it's almost, it's almost like, I didn't even touch on this and I'm not, because I'm about to run out of time. It's almost like when people buy Call of Duty every year, hate it every year, and then keep buying it. If you don't think that there's something going on with people who do stuff like that, it's a problem. But what is the problem and why it is? Well, that's something we got to keep looking into to figure out. So let me know what you think in the comment section. Peace out and have a blessed day.